Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you about my diagnosis of functional neurological disorder. Um, so basically, some people, well, some doctors, I should say, call this conversion disorder, and it's actually functional neurological disorder. It is a functional problem, not a psychiatric problem. Not that there's anything wrong with having mental illness or having a psychiatric disorder, but that is not what my issue is. Um, Apparently, it's a lot more common in people who have gone through a traumatic experience. It's kind of like how you handle your traumatic experiences that you've been through determines whether or not you end up with a functional neurological disorder. Um, so, I have PTSD from being in multiple abusive relationships. I have talked about that a little extensively on my channel in the past, not so much recently. But, I was almost killed by an ex-abusive boyfriend. And so I've come a long way from that, obviously. I'm married now and, not to that same person, obviously, but I feel like I've grown as a person, and for whatever reason, I still ended up with functional neurological disorder. Now, apparently, your symptoms can be lessened sometimes with therapy. I have not seen a therapist in a while, and part of that is because I don't have health insurance right now. As soon as I do have health insurance, I do plan to get set up with a therapist again, someone that I can see on a regular basis, and not just because of my functional neurological disorder, but also because of my PTSD, because that's kind of been off the charts lately. I've found myself having more flashbacks and more like anxiety, and I feel like it just needs to be addressed. So with my functional neurological disorder, some of the problems that I have are seizures. Now, I do have regular seizures, but I also have non-epileptic, or what is called psychogenic seizures, which tend to happen because of the stress that I am under. I have more of a warning when it's not a psychogenic seizure. Like, I start smelling weird things. It's usually like a gasoline type smell that I smell, and then I know that I'm going to have a seizure. So usually I have time to sit down. But with the psychogenic seizures, when I'm under a lot of stress, even if I don't realize that I'm under a lot of stress, I can end up just like not smelling the gas, and still end up having a seizure. And another issue that I've had, and they aren't sure if this is because of my functional neurological disorder or because of my migraines, but I have had paralysis on one side of my body. And shortly after I was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, I ended up having a hemiplegic migraine, which is paralysis on one side of the body due to a longer lasting migraine. I actually was hospitalized for that. I was supposed to see a doctor on a follow-up basis for that, but I actually never got the chance to go because of insurance. So eventually I will get that stuff taken care of as well. It's just a lot. Like, I have to be careful with how much stress that I'm under. I have to be careful, like, the things that I do. Sometimes I've noticed physical exertion is also like a trigger, but again, I don't know if that's because of like physical stress that I'm putting my body under or what. If you guys would like to know more about my functional neurological disorder and kind of how they came to that diagnosis, I would be more than happy to kind of share more of my story with you guys, but I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about it today, not super extensively, unless that's something that you guys would like to hear more about. A lot of people think that it is just psychological, and there are a lot of people, like when I was diagnosed, who thought that I was just faking the symptoms, and that's one thing that separates like hypochondriacs and people who are quote unquote malingering from people who have functional neurological disorder or conversion disorder, because it is an actual symptom. There's just no physical cause for most of the symptoms that you have. However, in my case, I also have MS and I do have seizures, but my actual seizures, not the psychogenic ones, are way more under control. The psychogenic ones have been happening more frequently because I've been under a lot of stress, and part of that is school. So that's another reason why I'm glad that I'm done with my medical assisting program, because I can kind of relieve that stress a little bit. But then also there's just a lot of stuff going on. So anyways, like I said, if you guys would like me to talk more about my functional neurological disorder on here, I would be glad to share more of my story with you guys, like what testing I went through in the hospital when I was hospitalized while they were trying to figure out all this stuff, and kind of how I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, I'd be more than happy to share that story with you guys and kind of my journey that I'm going to be on because of this FND diagnosis. So anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys again in my next video.